this function, we're given a position function for a particle. S is a function of t, and we're asked to find the initial velocity and acceleration of the particle. I think I'm just going to do the initial velocity here, so cross out the acceleration part. So initial velocity means the velocity at t equals 0. And if we're looking at velocity, what we want is the derivative of our position function. So let's take our derivative. And if we look at our function, we see that it involves two terms divided by each other. So we're going to need to use the quotient rule. And if we look at the denominator, we see that that's actually a composition of two functions. So we're going to have to use the chain rule as well as the quotient rule. So for our quotient rule here, we're going to have in the numerator the derivative of the top, so 3t squared, multiplied by the denominator, t squared plus 3t minus 1 all cubed. And we're going to subtract what we have on top times the derivative of the bottom. So that's, bring down the 3, t squared plus 3t minus 1 squared, and that gets multiplied by the derivative of what's inside. So that's going to be 2t plus 3. All of this gets divided by our denominator raised to the power of 2, so that'll be the exponent 6 down there on the bottom. Now, this is a pretty ugly expression here, but it becomes a lot simpler because we're only asked to evaluate this at value of 0. So we just need to sub in 0 everywhere. So let's see. If we sub in 0 here, do this in red, this t right here becomes a 0. This whole term goes away. So we end up with negative, let's see, t cubed is 0, so 0 plus 2, times 3 times, let's see, 0, 0, so negative 1 squared. And over here, 2t times 0 is just 0, so we end up with just 3. And what do we end up with down at the bottom? Well, let's see, we get a 0, and so we'll have negative 1 to the power of 6. And then we just need to simplify. So we're going to have, let's see, negative 2 times 3 times 3, so that gives us negative 18 up top, and in the bottom, this is going to just become positive 1. So our initial velocity is negative 18.